All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. The other day, I reported that David Gilmour doesn't want to do any more Pink Floyd stuff, and that was pretty disappointing. Look, I get it. Rick Wright is no longer here. The late, great Rick Wright, keyboard player extraordinaire. By the way, Roger Waters, for a time, kind of put Rick Wright out to pasture in the early 80s. I give Gilmour credit for bringing Rick Wright back into the fold. Rick Wright was just a brilliant keyboard player, and he's definitely missed. And if there was to be a Pink Floyd reunion, I understand the hesitation, but I think if you had Mason there, Nick Mason, and Roger Waters and David Gilmour, I think that might be enough to persuade people to buy tickets. Okay, if you call it Pink Floyd, and of course you have to fill those big shoes of Rick Wright, but Gilmour says no way. In a new memoir that Roger Waters is currently writing and leaking out to the press, Roger Waters is not pulling any punches. They focus on the beginning of the song Money and how those sounds were created, the cash register and the coins that drop. It's an iconic beginning to a song, brilliantly done. It was a tape loop, and apparently there is a debate about how that was produced and made. Gilmour is basically got one narrative about this that he started in 1982, apparently, when he interviewed with Rolling Stone. By the way, Roger Waters calls that a false narrative. And it's bizarre that he's got that much attention to detail, but that is Roger Waters. Look, what I've said about Roger Waters, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'll tell you what, he is who he is, and he's been very consistent. That's why I don't mind all of the political stuff, all the bizarre kind of off the wall stuff that Roger does. Roger brought all of that creative tension to Pink Floyd, which I think they really did miss without him. I mean, Gilmour soldiers on, essentially putting out these David Gilmour solo albums with Pink Floyd as your brand, and obviously a brilliant idea. You still have Mason and Wright there with you, so there is a level of credibility to it. But when you go back and listen to The Wall or listen to Animals or listen to any of the stuff where Waters was present, it's a different band. It's a band that's again kind of pushing and pulling in different directions. It's creatively more robust. It's almost like you're in a roller coaster and you don't know which way it's going to go. The fact that Waters is debating about the tape loop is quite interesting. Waters apparently was not impressed with David's recollection of what happened with the tape loop, and he called it bleeping gobbledygook. Okay, he used two creative words next to one another, and he says he has no bleeping idea what he's talking about, because unless he was hiding under the bleeping chair, Gilmour wasn't there when I made that tape loop for Money in the studio that I shared with my wife Judy at the bottom of our garden at 187 New North Road, Islington, next door to the North Pole pub where I used to play darts. So that sounds like a little excerpt from the book. The full story of what really happened is in my memoir, Waters concluded. So this is going to be a book that probably sells a lot. And he goes on to say, I hope that whets your and David and Polly's appetites. Polly is David Gilmour's wife, Polly Sampson. Apparently, Polly, from time to time, has chimed in to say things that apparently have ticked off Roger Waters a few times. So now that, the cat's kind of out of the bag, that there will never be any more Pink Floyd, according to David Gilmour, and I don't think Waters was expecting that Gilmour would want to do more Pink Floyd and these two guys can, get back together again, That happened, what, like 16 years ago now? And if it hasn't happened since then, I don't think any amount of money, uh, pardon the pun, would bring these guys back together again without Rick Wright there. It makes it even more difficult. But I was kind of expecting that Gilmour would crank up this thing one more time and go out there and do a nice farewell tour. But that's not going to be the case. We do have Roger Waters, who is very active these days, 73 years old, sounds pretty decent on vocals, did a lot of really good lockdown performances last year. And I'm sure he's writing new material as we speak. He is a world treasure, a European treasure, an American treasure, even though he's a Brit. But love him or hate him, Roger Waters is certainly the creative tension that Pink Floyd needs to be as creative as they can be. So without him, it's not as good as it once was. In any event, that new book sounds great, and I'll be picking up a copy when that comes out. And who knows, maybe we'll do a breakdown of the book. People liked it when I did the Don Felder thing and I went through the book. We'll see about the Waters book. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.